It's your man, 100 grand, Ross with the Rock Never Stops. Sorry, I'm a little tired today. I've been running about all day. I got my hair twisted up, looking clean as motherfucker, you know what I mean? I'm looking nice. But also, got in my run, got in my workout, just took a shower, you know what I mean? Like, always ready for a nap, ready for a nap. But I wanted to get in this video because, man, what the Detroit Pistons did last night was it was probably more than just a statement win. And I want to talk about that in this video. I definitely want to talk about that in this video. Um, if you see me take kind of pauses sometimes in the video, I'm also reading the chat. This is an interactive chat. So I do respond to super chats right off the bat. And then people who put, questions, thoughts in the chat, if I can get to it, I'll try to get to it. All that's to say, let's dive into this because the Detroit Pistons, what they did last night. What the Detroit Pistons did last night is absolutely phenomenal. It was a game that I watched it. It felt like every shot that was made was a big shot. It just had that energy. They were facing a team that literally has four. So as much as I can acknowledge that the Cleveland Cavaliers had finished a Western road trip playing 5 games in 10 nights on back-to-back flights, not sleeping at home, not being in the arena, and then they finally get a night off. They get back home and they face Spurs, and then they have to turn around and fly into Detroit and face the Pistons. I can understand why they might have been tired. And at the same time, they have 4 All-Stars and a cast full of veterans. They had every resource needed to put the Pistons away, including the fact that the Detroit Pistons didn't have Cade Cunningham. They didn't have Navy. And they didn't have their veteran leader, Tobias Harris. So they were going to be lacking size, depth, talent, and leadership. The Cleveland Cavaliers had everything they needed to put away the Detroit Pistons. Yet the Pistons not only punched first, but they finished out this game just when the Cleveland Cavaliers looked like they were going to rally behind Donovan Mitchell and basically be like, yeah, this is who we are. This is who we are. I will have to give Cleveland credit. Cleveland is a damn good team. I don't want to take anything away from them. I don't want to take anything away from Cleveland. They are a damn good team. And I think in a playoff series, it would be rough for us. It would be rough. But in this game, the Detroit Pistons showed you why I have persistently, since last season, continued to say that the Detroit Pistons have all the talent they need, not only to turn around that team from last season to what we're seeing now, but also that they have every talent they need to become a championship contending team. A championship contending team. I got 27 people in this live. Just if you haven't been on this channel before, this is an interactive live. So if you put comments or questions, I will definitely comment on it as long as it sticks to the subject matter of the NBA and Detroit Pistons or something around the NBA basketball. If you do a super chat, I'll pause in the live and I'll go ahead and answer your question or acknowledge a statement. Avery Whiteside, great point. This was a full team effort. They took Mobley and Allen out of this game. Now, I wanted to speak to that, and that's probably one of the first points that I wanted to get to, was that Cleveland had a clear height advantage, had a clear size advantage. Not only did they have Jarrett Allen at 6'11", who's 250 pounds, 260 pounds. Not only did they have Evan Mobley, who's a Defensive Player of the Year candidate, right, anchoring one of the best defenses in the NBA, who was also an All-Star, who's also first-team All-Defense. Not only did they have Isaac Okoro on the wings, had 2 guards that clearly had an athleticism and scoring advantage over the guards of the Detroit Pistons. And that's not even close. And yet somehow the Detroit Pistons, because of who they are as a culture, as a team, not only punched first against the Cleveland Cavaliers, but they actually kept their foot on the gas. They actually continued to play that physical brand of basketball that kept the Cavaliers on their heels the entire time. the entire time. You know, something that I've really been impressed with, and I've actually commented on this plenty of times, that Jalen Duren needs to be featured in this offense. On that starting lineup, outside of Dennis Schroeder, Jalen Duren is probably the best shot creator in that starting lineup. Now, I'm not talking about somebody who's going to do playmaking, who might set up a teammate. He doesn't necessarily pass out of his aggressive drives to the rim. But against a solitary defender, against only one defender, he can score against just about anybody. And that is a real trait. That means that he has the footwork, he has the ball handling, he has the touch, he has the awareness, he has the acumen, which means that he understands angles. He understands if he's driving past a guy and he's going to give it soft, high off the glass, hitting the angles, or if he's going to give him the up and under dump hook. Jalen Duren has a high level scoring acumen for a big man. And I've been saying this. It's as high as Alperen Sengun and Domantas Sabonis. In fact, he has a higher ceiling than both of those guys because both of those guys are around 6'9". They'll drop to 6'10" on a good day with the right pair of Nikes. Jalen Duren is a legit 6'10" and change. Probably closer to 6'11", but not just the height, it's also the wingspan. With a 7'5" wingspan, he has the ability to contest at the rim and finish over defenders in ways that Alperen Sengun and Domantas Sabonis don't. And yet both of them in the Western Conference have been able to be dominant and have been able to be all-stars, if not all-NBA performers. This is why I keep saying Jalen Duren is a lot more valuable than people give him credit for. Jalen Duren's ability to put pressure on Jarrett Allen, get him on his heels. He would be oftentimes glued to Jalen Duren, allowing guys to get to the rim like Dennis Schroeder and Tim Hardaway Jr. Because of that aggressiveness of Jalen Duren offensively, Jarrett Allen had to stay aware of him, which negated a lot of his rim protecting ability. I don't even know if he had a block in this game. He had one block in this game. Evan Mobley had two, but only one block, and was a -13 on this game. Only played 19 minutes. Only played 19 minutes and had 4 fouls. I'm sorry, no, Jalen Duren had 4 fouls. Jarrett Allen didn't have any fouls. He also didn't get to the free throw line, which is kudos to Jalen Duren not getting into foul trouble. And he was able to get him out of the game to be completely ineffective. A big part of this Cleveland Cavaliers offense is the ability to play a dominator at all times. If not going with that double big lineup, that really spells a lot of trouble for most teams. And yet, that was completely ineffective. Not just Jalen Duren, it was also Ausar Thompson. I want to say it was one of the very first plays of the game. Ausar Thompson goes right at Evan Mobley's chest. Ausar Thompson is 6'7", 230 pounds. He goes into the chest. First team all defense, defensive player of the year candidate, Evan Mobley, puts him not on his backside, but puts him on his heels where he's falling backwards. So much so that when Ausar Thompson goes up and shoots over him and misses the layup, Evan Mobley is completely out of the picture to try to get that rebound. And Ausar Thompson jumps back up with that quick second, taps it back in. It set the tone early. It set the tone. Ausar Thompson and Jalen Duren set the tone within the front court and said, we are going to be the more physical front court. We are going to out-physical you guys. We're going to dominate on the boards. And they did. Between Ausar Thompson and Jalen Duren, they had 23 rebounds. Between Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen, they had 10. They out-rebounded the Cleveland Cavaliers front line 23-10. That says something about the potential of this team, not just in terms of talent, also the culture of this team. That we play a physical brand of basketball, but finally, they're playing physical and smart. And smart. It was weird because I was watching Ausar Thompson. It's something I've been like cautious of at times, playing him in the front court, because sometimes it felt like it negated his perimeter defense. But when you see with somebody like a Dennis Schroeder, who's a strong point of attack defender, who I'm going to get in a little bit, you're able to play Ausar Thompson in different positions, whether as a forward, as a wing, and try to nullify whatever high-level score is in those areas. And that's exactly how they did him. Evan Mobley ended this game with 9 points. 9 points. Evan Mobley on the season is averaging, let me pull it up here, 18.5 points, 9 rebounds. Evan Mobley is averaging 18 and a half points and 9 rebounds. In this game, he had 9 points, 6 rebounds. Asar Thompson, on the other hand, put up 18 points, 10 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, and 4 blocks. He completely outplayed an all-star. Now, I know some of you guys want to point Asar Thompson's jump shot and like, hey, he's not blocking enough shots, and he's not shooting enough jump shots. He's not hitting the mid-range. He's not hitting his three. He did airball a three-point shot, and yet somehow he still ended up with 18 points and outplayed the all-star Evan Mobley. I keep trying to explain to you guys that basketball is so much more than shooting. It is so much more than shooting. It's a great luxury to have. Having an elite shooter is extremely important in today's NBA, where you have to have a certain level of spacing. But when you have Tim Hardaway Jr., who's on the heater that he was, and I want to acknowledge that as well. Look, those of us who understand the game should understand by now that Tim Hardaway Jr. is a streaky shooter. Malik Beasley, I think he's just a good shooter, period. Neither of them are known defense. This probably is the best defensive effort either of them have ever playing this season in Detroit. Neither of them are necessarily considered starting shooting guards around the NBA. They were able to perform in this game and be everything this team needed them to be. And it's a testament to J.B. Bickerstaff and his X&Os, his offensive schemes, putting them in the right positions, knowing how to cover them defensively and making sure that he had balance on the court, and coming up with the correct scheme to nullify some of the strengths of the Cleveland Cavaliers. One of the things that I want to point out is that even though, and let's be Donovan Mitchell, he saw food when he saw Malik Beasley and Tim Hardaway Jr. Darius Garland as well. When he saw those two, Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell, when they saw Tim Hardaway Jr., they were not worried at all. And that's the reality for any scorer on the perimeter when they see those two defenders, which is why, and I'm going to this later, the long-term outlook of those two may not be with the Detroit Pistons. No matter how good their shooting has been. I get it. It's been wonderful to have. Both of them are in a contract year, which means that both of them are probably playing through nicks and injuries and stuff that had they been under contract, they might have just sat down. So the health that they've shown throughout this season is probably an aberration. It's not exactly what you're probably going to get over a 2 to 3 year contract if you were to extend them. Now I want to get to a couple of these comments before I keep rolling here. Duren simply needs to be more aggressive. He gets the ball. Both JB has stated this publicly, and you can see Tobias Harris and Cade ripping him, passing up opportunities. It's about confidence for him. I completely agree. I completely agree with that point, Ed Robinson. Let me see. Avery Whiteside, it's not just one player that believes and is being, the whole team is confident and believes. You can see the effect of JB's coaching. No, 100%. 100%. And I know I got 20 people in the live right now. Smash the like button for me, you know what I mean? You feel me? Smash that like button real quick. I'm going to try to get to your comments as well. I try to make this interactive, you know what I mean? Because y'all take the time to be in my live. And you got a point, we might as well talk about it. You feel me? Iganodi, sorry. Ganodi. Mobley, favorite higher than Cade for MVP. I don't think so. I don't think so at all. Evan Mobley will probably never win an MVP with Donovan Mitchell next to him. Because Donovan Mitchell is that electric, that exciting of a scorer. We still remember him going toe-to-toe with Jamal Murray with back-to-back 50-point games in the playoffs back when he was with Utah. Like, we know who Donovan Mitchell is. Evan Mobley is probably their most important player, but I don't think that he will be their MVP until he gets up to like 25 points per game and shows that he's just as important on both ends of the court, just defensively minded game, especially within media. And so Donovan Mitchell is going to get that air of being the better player. So he's probably never going to win an MVP. Cade, on the other hand, is probably the one that stirs the entire pot for the Detroit. Even though they have a strong system and everyone buys in, Cade Cunningham is clearly the best player on the Detroit Pistons. And so he would definitely be higher on the MVP ranking than Evan Mobley. Avery Whiteside, look at Draymond Green, for example. Let me know what you mean by that. Let me know what you mean by that. Ed Robinson, people pointing out Asar shooting our goose. It will come. You do not always have to be a three-point shooter to be dominant. That is 100%. Bro, you dropping gems. You dropping gems. I appreciate that. Sean Truth, we the first team to triple our wins from last year. And that's what I was going to get to. Why this was more than just a statement game. First off, I think they had lost the last, I want to say 12 games to the Cleveland Cavaliers. They've been getting stomped by the Cleveland Cavaliers. And they're in their division, which means they see them often. They see them often. And they had lost the last 3 just this season. Beating the Cleveland Cavaliers, who were practically at full health. They didn't have, what's the guard's name? The guy off the bench, who I'm not even going to front. He's nice. He's nice. He's one of them ones where it's just like, all right, you can hoop. You can hoop. I'm trying to think of his name. Let me know in the comment section if you could think of the guy that I'm talking about for the Cleveland Cavaliers. He comes off the bench. Let me see. Let me go to this real quick. Because I want to make a point about his role and his importance, which is real. It is real. Get his name. Somebody think of his name? Ty Jerome. Facts. I love my chat. Y'all be on it. Y'all see, I'm out here overworking, and y'all already got it. Ty Jerome. Ty Jerome is a player who is huge for them off the bench. So let's be clear. Ty Jerome and what he does for that Cleveland Cavaliers team is huge. He's practically their Dennis Schroeder. He's their Malik Beasley. He's the guy who's able to get on a heater, who's able to really buoy the offense when it's kind of falling short. At 6'6", he's an excellent playmaker, shot maker. He can do some facilitating. He can play the point guard, the shooting guard, even a little small forward at his size. Coming from the University of Virginia, he actually defends. But this is why he's so important. And I'm going to read this. It's what he gets paid. He gets paid. Ty Jerome making $2 million, $2.5 million. He's going to be an unrestricted free agent. Winning teams have oftentimes at least 1 to 2 Ty Jeromes on their bench. That means a player who plays almost as well as a starter, but gets paid like an end of the bench guy. Now I know this is not fair. I'm going to be 100% honest. It's not fair. His production is what he's getting paid. It's not fair. I think Ty Jerome is going to get paid as he looks into this new contract this summer. But it's to say that when we look forward to what the Detroit Pistons are going to do this offseason, we have to keep in mind our salary, position of need, and the roles. A lot of us have been talking about Tim Hardaway Jr., Malik Beasley, even Dennis Schroeder now. And fair enough. We need to talk about them. They're having great seasons for us. However, I don't know if any of those guys fit our timeline. I don't know if any of those guys fit our salary cap situation. And when you look at the role that will be available to them, I don't know if any of them are necessarily going to want the role that will be there for them next season. And I want to kind of tap on that a little bit. Next season, you're going to have the return of Jaden Ivey. He'll likely gotten extended along with Jalen Duren. They'll be in bigger roles year 4 of their career, usually when they take a jump. And I think what we're going to see is we're going to see Jaden Ivey with 32 to 35 minutes a game. Jalen Duren is going to be up as well, 35 minutes a game, which is going to diminish the role of Isaiah Stewart a little bit. And I'm not necessarily mad about that. I think Stewart at his best in spurts. But then you also have guys like Rollin. and Marcus Sasser. And I was impressed with Marcus Sasser because the big question I always ask guys is, what do you do when you're not shooting the ball? What do you do when you're not scoring? What do you do when your shot is off? Marcus Sasser ended with about 4 assists. He probably should have ended the game with about 7 because guys just missed wide open shots that he was creating. His ability to get paint touches, getting close to the basket, drawing those help defenders, finding the open guy on the perimeter was just an excellent job, masterful job, considering the fact that he wasn't getting a lot of playing time for the longest when Cade Cunningham and Dennis coming off the bench. And then all of a sudden he does get thrust into the game, but he's mostly a scorer the last couple of games. And then this past game against the Cavaliers, all of a sudden he has to shift into a facilitator. His shot's not dropping, getting the foul calls. He shifts, and he becomes the defender, facilitator. He plays really a lot like Dennis Schroeder, at least in this last game, where he was saying, look, my shot's not dropping. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to collapse the defense, and I'm going to create opportunities. And seeing that shift to go from I'm looking for my shot, because he was aggressive right out the gate. He missed the first couple, didn't get a foul call when he got knocked to the ground, and all of a sudden he's like, you know what? I need to find a way to be effective, help this team win. And how he did that was by creating for others. So when you look at somebody like a Marcus Sasser and who he'll probably be next year in year 3, I think he's going to have that role down even more. I think he's going to be much more keen to have that balance of being a scorer and a facilitator in the game. I think he's going to play a lot like how Dennis Schroeder is playing for the Detroit Pistons off the bench. Here's the thing. Marcus Sasser is getting paid $2,700,000, $2.7 million. Next year, it'll be at $2.8 million. He's in the Ty Jerome mold. He's the guy that has the ability to play like a star in spurts, and he's getting paid like an end-of-the-bench guy. When we start thinking about what it's going to cost to re-sign Malik Beasley, Tim Hardaway Jr., or Dennis Schroeder, we have to consider these things. Tim Hardaway Jr. is getting paid $16 million. Dennis Schroeder is getting paid $13 million. Malik Beasley is getting paid $6 million. Malik Beasley is due for a raise, especially after leading the NBA in three-pointers made. So then we start thinking about, well, what would the role be for whoever we bring back? Well, considering that you have Marcus Sasser, you still have to consider you also have Ron Holland, who had an excellent game last night. Ron Holland had an incredible game. Not only was he playing great defense, bringing great energy, he also hit 2 threes. And in case y'all haven't noticed, Ron Holland's three-point shot has been getting better and better and better ever since the new year hit. Working with Fred Vincent has been everything for this roster. Seeing the confidence in Asar Thompson's pull-up jump shot, the one that he hit, fading right over Mobley, about 8 feet out, looked smooth, they look confident. They're knocking down the free throws more regularly. And Ron Holland is knocking down threes, getting out in the break and getting dunks. When we think about Ron Holland is going to be in year 2, a more confident shooter, more defined role, and an increased role, which means he's not going to be getting his 13 minutes, 12 minutes a game that he was getting in the past. In this past game, played, let me get the minutes down. Ron Holland played 19 minutes. 19 minutes. I don't think Ron Holland goes beneath 19 minutes next season. I think he becomes an 18 to 20 minute player for almost the whole season. And if he has it rolling, I think he's going to start seeing some starter minutes at times if somebody gets hurt. Don't be shocked if they have closing lineups with Jaden Cade Cunningham, Ron Holland, Asar Thompson, and Jalen Duren. They have size on the wings with Cade, Ron, and Asar. Versatility, they'll be able to switch a lot. Even with Jaden Ivey, they'll have shooting, athleticism. They're going to look a lot like the Boston Celtics. So when we think about the outlook for this team, one of the things that I'm really, really locking in on is what they're going to continue to progressively become. Because remember, keep your eyes on the prize. It's to be a champion. It's not just to make the playoffs. That's what Detroit basketball is about. Championships. Winners from championships, Eastern Conference Finals win, not just getting into the first round. And so when we think about the role that's going to be available for whoever we bring back, I think it's going to be a lot smaller. And I don't know who is actually going to want that role. Now, something that I do think that the Pistons are going to do is potentially, instead of re-signing one of those guys, they might just do kind of a sign and trade. Give them the contract that they deserve, and then bring back from another team a contract that they don't want. What this allows the Detroit Pistons to do is to fill in those gaps with short-term, flexible contracts. Guys you can throw into trades if you need. And guys who can play defined roles, but also bring that veteran intangible of knowing how to win games. Guys like Marcus Smart, who's got 2 more years on his deal. I think he's around 20-something, 30 million. You got guys like Malcolm Brogdon out there. Consummate professional, plays both ends, highly efficient. Those are the type of guys that the Detroit Pistons might prefer to target, who are on short deals, rather than extend to a long deal with more money for one of the guys that are already on the team, especially considering their limitations, right? Malik Beasley, Tim Hardaway Jr. can't really defend at a high level. They can shoot, but in a more defined, smaller role. I don't expect either of them to be guys that you're going to say, hey, we're going to be able to switch. We're going to be able to match up in this way. We're going to be able to do some of these more versatile things, which they're going to need as the target now becomes on their back. Because other teams are going to say, man, we should be able to get them. Teams like Charlotte, Orlando, Atlanta, Miami, they're going to be gunning for the Detroit Pistons next year. Now, let me get into some other comments. Let me see. I want to see Detroit in the playoffs. Yeah, I'm excited to see what they do in the playoffs. I think guys are going to show you who they really are, because that's really where you get tested. That's really where you get tested. You can be as talented as you want to be throughout the regular season, like a LaMelo Ball. But if you can't transfer that into the playoffs, which is really the time where everyone is locked in. The coaches, the system, everything is locked into beating the other team, and you have to execute at a high level. You have to strategize. You have to give consistent energy and effort. And this is where we're going to see who these Detroit Pistons are. I think they're going to have a good showing. And I think really it's kind of simple for them. Stick to the script. Trust one another. Move the ball. Play hard defense, giving great effort. Trust the next man in line. Stay within the system. Right? Play your role and be great in your role. That's how the Pistons win in the playoffs. Right there. Let me see. Yo, salute. What's up, calm guy? We should bring back Dennis and Beasley. And if we could bring back Tim, we should do it. I actually disagree. I disagree. And the reason why. Because you're trying to re-sign Jaden Ivey and Jalen Duren right now. Right now. This offseason. Because next year it's going to cost even more. I keep saying this over and over. Trajan Langdon needs to try to get both of them re-signed. Full extension. For each of them somewhere in the 20 to 25, 26, 27 at the most, $1 million a year contract. The reason why is because they still have to factor in re-signing Asar Thompson the next summer. And then they'll have Ron Holland the summer after that. You see, when you start thinking about future contracts, you have to look at your salary cap. You have to look at who you're already paying. If you start doling out a lot of money to Malik Beasley, Tim Hardaway Jr., Dennis Schroeder, remember these guys are making $16 million, $13 million, $6 million, due for a big raise. Those types of contracts are going to lock your team in. Now, here's the thing. It also prevents you from being able to sign other guys. And here's the aspect on top of that. When you pay them that type of money, you have to carve out a role for them that is relative to that contract. But here's the thing. The role that they will be in, much smaller. If Jaden Ivey was healthy right now, Tim Hardaway Jr. would be coming off the bench. Think about that. Think about what this team will look like next year. Healthy Cade, Jaden Ivey, Asar Thompson, point Asar Thompson. Ron Holland, improved shooting. Marcus Sasser, better facilitator. What's the role? Who's going to get those minutes that justifies giving them 6, 8, 10, 12, $16 million a year? These are things that we have to consider. This is why you have flexible contracts. This is why you might see somebody who's in, let's say, Oklahoma City, and they're like, why they let that guy go? He's really good. And it's like, yeah, he is, but he's not as good as the guy that we have to re-sign next summer. And this is where the business side comes in. Unfortunately, they have a completely unfair salary cap situation within the NBA. They don't have it in baseball. They don't have it in soccer. They don't practice that around the world. It's just in the U.S. They like to make sure that these billionaires can make tens of billions of dollars and pay out the players, maybe 15%, 20% of what they're making. Let me see. Evan Mobley is a high caliber role player, not a star. He will never be an MVP. You know what? I'm not going to say that yet. I think that he has a Tim Duncan type ceiling. He's not Tim Duncan, right? He's not Tim Duncan. I think if Evan Mobley had stayed a second year like Tim Duncan did and dominated, player of the year type, All-American, really got his confidence up on the offensive end and then came into the NBA, I think how he's playing now, he would have played entering into the NBA. All that to say is he's had more of a road to ascend, but I think he keeps going. I don't think Evan Mobley is ever less than what he is right now for the foreseeable future. He's going to continue to I think he's going to get up to about 25 points per game. He's going to get up to about 10, 11 rebounds, 5, 6 assists, 2 blocks. Like, he's going to be healthy Anthony Davis type, just dominant. He's gonna get into the MVP discussions. But I think Cade will get there sooner. He's just far more polished offensively. Joe Pesci, 35-75 was good, man. Salute. How do you feel about our W finally get the Cavs? Yeah, I've been talking about it, bro. I'm feeling good about it. I think it's a statement win, not only because they were on a string of losses specifically to the Cleveland Cavaliers, but they also, for the first time in NBA history, tripled their win total from the season before. Now, I know Cade said it, a bunch of people said it. The Detroit Pistons were not as bad as that 14-win season suggested last year. And that's true. They had the talent. They didn't have the health. They also didn't have the coaching. Unfortunately, Monty's you're gonna have to wear that cap for the rest of your life. That job did in Detroit, it just didn't reflect integrity. It just did, and it came through, and it had a huge impact on this team and stalled their development. But I'll say that what I loved about this game is how guys stepped up. Not just that they stepped up, it's how they stepped up. Staying out of foul trouble, playing within their role, staying aggressive. And I think that for Cade Cunningham to see guys play this way is even more of an incentive to stay within the system and not try to break out and just take over games, even though you can. Because the thing is, if everyone gets to that finish line, the game is 10 times easier. If everyone gets to that finish and is balling out, this game is so much easier for you, Cade Cunningham. And it becomes 10 times easier to close out when everybody's rolling. When you're trying to close a team out and Mitchell is going and he's getting his buckets, it's so much easier for you to go toe-to-toe because the defense can't collapse on you in the same way. It can't leave Tim Hardaway Jr. easily because they're hitting threes. They hit Malik Beasley hit 3 of 5. Tim Hardaway Jr. 7 of 11. They can't just collapse on you. With Jalen Duren getting to the free throw line, dunking, finishing inside, finished with 16 points, 30 rebounds. They can't leave him. They can't leave Asar Thompson into the game with 18 points and rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, 4 blocks, right? Even Ron Holland, who hit threes. How does this team stop you and slow you down if everyone else has going? But they can't get it going if you're trying to take over from beginning to end. That just puts this offense behind the 8 ball. Joe Pesci said the broadcaster was hanging on our win, was hating on our win. Yeah, he was. Ty Jerome. Ty Jerome, I don't even know if he'll be in Cleveland next year. Ty Jerome, he's going to probably get an opportunity to maybe somewhere, or at least have a bigger role someplace else. Um, who would have got us? Yeah, they didn't have what's his name, Max Struess either. Avery Whiteside with the Comet. I think what is underrated with our vets is that this is the first time I've seen Tobias Bees and Hardaway active on defense and moving the ball on offense. Look, I've been saying this about JB Bickerstaff. He's the type of coach. You see, there's different elements of coaching. And I say this before, I have a background in coaching basketball, coached some college, but I've been a coach my whole life, basically. For about 15 years, I coached basketball from college to youth, rec, AAU. I used to do player development. I have a background in kinesiology, sports psychology, doing all that stuff, right? And so I perceive different things. JB Bickerstaff has some incredible attributes that I want to point out. One, he's great with his schemes. The schemes he comes out with, especially his offensive scheme and defensive scheme. I'm not going to call him great in terms of his defensive scheme. His offensive scheme, his system, has been top of the line. He's at least Budenholzer. He's at least the guy he was coaching against for the Cavs. He's at least on the level of, let me see what other coaches are. I'm not going to say he's Rick Carlisle. I'm not going to say that he's Eric Spoelstra or Tyronn Lue level, but he's that tier right beneath them in terms of offensive scheme. He's not a scheme as much as he is a defensive motivating coach. He gets you buy-in. Not only buy-in, he also gets you motivated. And those are two different things. To get buy-in and also get motivated. Think about the difference between a Steve Kerr, who struggles. He can get buy-in. He struggles to motivate. He struggles to light that fire, to push the right buttons, to say the right things, to perceive who is slacking or who needs a breather or who to bring in at the right time to get his team to play at their optimal level. That is a skill. It's not a hoorah. That's how they used to characterize it back in the day. Oh, it's just the rah-rah coach. That is skill. Because you know what it looks like when you don't have it? Last night for the Cleveland Cavaliers with Kenny Atkinson. He didn't have the ability to motivate and kick his team into gear. Say, yo, this team is dangerous. They're just taking it to us. They're playing us more physical. Let's get it going. He didn't have that ability. He didn't have that ability. So that's a real skill. He also has the ability to make adjustments at halftime. He's good at that. He has the ability to get buy-in. We already talked about that. What I'm looking for is, can he show me more X's and O's? And this is where we begin to see him tinker with players in their roles and put them in different positions based upon the matchups. I think that is something that we will want to see in the playoffs. That was something he was criticized about in the playoffs before. We're also probably needing to see a better defensive scheming coach out of JB. Can you create better defensive schemes? Now, I know many times your defense is predicated upon the talent you have. If you don't have great talent defensively, you're not going to be a great defensive team. Just like if you don't have great talent offensively, you're not going to be a great offensive team. Before Asar Thompson was able to get back to the starting lineup at the turn of the new year and start playing more extended minutes, our defense, average. It was an improvement, but it was average. Duren was still in the foul trouble. Isaiah Stewart had to carry us a lot of times. But then as Asar Thompson started having a more prominent role defensively, you began to see our defense in terms of efficiency and potential, creating turnovers, right? Opponent field goal percentage, lower, right? All of a sudden now our defense looks far better. But what happens when you take Asar out and you're trying to close the game with Malik Beasley and Tim Hardaway Jr., it drops back down. So these are things that I will see from a JB Bickerstaff moving forward. I know I went on a little tangent there, but I thought it was a point to make. Our veterans have been really good, really solid offensively. More than anything, they've stayed healthy. And that's been the biggest difference between last season and this season. Health. That's the number one predictor of a team's outcome. Health. If you get decimated by injuries, you're not going to win. You have to have great players to make up for it. And if your best players get hurt, even more so. Even more so. Our veterans have been healthy. Unlike last season, unlike the season before, they've been healthy. And it's made a huge difference in this team's turnaround. Let me see. Other points here. Casio IRL. I think it'll be one more year before we see the Peyton Pritchard, Ty Jerome version of Marcus Sasser, and that's fine. I completely agree. Great point. Great point. I think so too. I think next season you begin to see more flashes of games, 18 points, 4 or 5 assists. You'll see more games where he has strong shooting, scoring nights and strong facilitating nights. And many times it's weird because it feels like a lot of the players don't accept the ball from him when he's actually passing it to them, when he's playmaking for them. They're not actually ready to catch the ball, and so they're missing shots. But I think that that's going to change as well going into next season. I think Marcus Sasser has the ability to play like a Ty Jerome or a Peyton Pritchard by the end of next season. I really think that. Let me see. Avery Whiteside, also Ron has brought an energy and toughness to this team. Don't you know it? Don't you know it? Casio IRL, I would still bring back Dennis Schroeder. The biggest needs this offense for me is finding a replacement for Tim Hardaway Jr. and new starting power forward. I don't think we need a new starting power forward yet. I think we still have Bobby Klintman in the wings. I think he has the ability to develop. I went back, look, I do a lot of film study on Bobby Klintman. You take a look at his pre-draft conversation and what guys were saying about him. Take a look at how he played at Wake Forest or he played in Australia. You look at how he played in Summer League, and you consistently see the prototype of what this team is looking for. He has the agility to stay in front of guys and contain on the perimeter, while the physicality to be able to rebound at a high level. He has a three-point shot that should only grow with time, that he could become, I don't know if he'll ever be Cam Johnson level, where he's taking 6 to 8 threes a game, but I can certainly see him taking 4 to 6 threes a game as a starting forward. And I think he has the ability at 6'10" to be exactly what this team's looking for. Now, the reason why I'm saying let's not go out, to not go out and get another power forward is because of the price tag that Jaden Ivey and Jalen Duren are going to cost us. So I would hold off, especially when we still got Tobias Harris under contract for next season, who I think is going to be just as steady and solid for us, with Simone Fontecchio still under contract, with Ron Holland, or Sar Thompson is going to be able to play power forward minutes, showing you. And then you're still going to have Bobby Klintman. Why go out and get a forward when you still have enough of what you need right now? You don't need to make that move yet. Dennis Schroeder, I'm not so sure. I think there's more of a need to replace a Malik Beasley and Tim Jr. That spot shooter who can come in between Marcus Sasser and Ron Holland and space the floor. I think that's somebody that they can get in that role, which is why I often said Lindy Waters might be that dude for us. Lindy Waters might be him for us, because I think that he could come in. Lindy Waters is getting paid right now. Let me just double check. Lindy Waters is getting paid $2 million. He's getting paid $2 million right now. If you can get Lindy Waters next year under, let's say, a 2 or 3 year deal where he's getting paid $2 million, $3 million a year, you now have a sharpshooter who's also bigger at 6'6", some more defensive versatility. And he showed some passing chops as well. I think he's going to be able to move the ball all right. But it's to say that if you can get him under that deal, it gives you so much cap flexibility. So much cap flexibility. And remember, we still got to extend Jaden Ivey, Jalen Duren, the following year, Asar Thompson, Sasser, and the year after that, Ron Holland, Bobby Klintman, and Isaiah Stewart. Right? We're going to have guys on this roster who are going to have a bigger role and impact in the future, whom we have to dedicate money to and start planning for. And so right now, managing the salary cap is essential to Trajan Langdon's outlook as a general manager. Let me see some other points here. Sean Truth, what's good, my boy? We got 3 guys for every spot. The playoffs going to be tough for whoever play us for sure. Yeah, I completely agree. We have really good depth right now. The guys are clicking, playing in their roles. Next man stepping up. And I think Cade comes back energized, and he's going to be rolling coming into the playoffs. Ed Robinson, Mobley has Tim Duncan like ceiling question mark. Oh, you laughing at it. Hey man, I'm gonna say if you want against it, go ahead. But I could completely see Evan Mobley having a stretch, 4 or 5 years, 6 years, where he's averaging 24 to 26 points a game, 10 to 12 rebounds, 3, 4 blocks, defensive player of the year, candidate or winner. I can completely see that, especially now that he's hitting threes. He's only going to get stronger every single year. He's going to get more skilled and more confident. All of a sudden, you're going to start seeing him get into his bag more and more. Eventually, I think they move on from Jarrett Allen, unless they win a championship. And you're going to see him in a more prominent role. You'll probably see them bring in somebody who could be more of a complement to Evan Mobley, allowing him to be the full-time center. They might even go after somebody like Jabari Smith Jr., right? I can totally see them doing a Jarrett Allen, Jabari Smith Jr. trade. Now they got that stretch four next to him. He has a high ceiling. I'm not gonna tear him down at all. Dr. Elo's respect. I'm trying to figure out what your name is, bro. You Teague's brother. Shit, hell nah. Nah, Marquise Teague, I think he's still playing in Europe right now. Shout out the 520 podcast. It was good. Joe B, we talking JB? Yeah, JB Bickerstaff, he has a lot of skill as a coach. He's probably one of the better coaches. I'd say he's a B-level coach. A B-level coach, meaning he can get you into the playoffs better than pretty much most of the other coaches in the league. Most of players like him. He's got a good scheme. They trust him. He knows his stuff. He's got a good amount of experience. He's young enough to still relate and old enough to still know some of the old tricks of the trade. He's really good. He's not A-level. But let me be clear on this, and I keep trying to tell people this. Coaches learn just like players do. When you have a bad stretch for a couple of years, it's important that you give coaches a chance to grow. It is important to give coaches a chance to grow. I'm going to be real. Back when JB Bickerstaff was with Memphis, I thought he did a great job when he was the interim and should have gotten that job. He did more for setting the foundation of that team than the coach who came after him, who they just fired, who lost the locker room. Because I think there's an infatuation with these system coaches that they undermine other coaches who have other skills, such as creating a foundation and a culture that means a set of expectations of what the team is going to be about that can leverage its talent and its outlook for the team to be able to become a winning team that can get into the playoffs. Your ability to create a scheme, to get buy-in, to motivate, all these are skills. And many times they get diminished with a lot of coaches, especially black coaches. And they kind of call them rah-rah coach. And they say that they're just guys who just, motivated, as if it doesn't take skill to be able to talk to a grown-ass man and say, I need you to take your talent and apply it here. I know you can do all this over here. I know you're in a contract year, you can do. I know you have all this that you're thinking about. You got real life, you got kids, you got all this. And I'm going to talk to you as a grown man, and I'm going to ask you to trust me and play a certain way. That is not rah-rah. That's not just emotional coaching. That takes real skill, the ability to connect and articulate, to communicate effectively, and to get buy-in, to be able to get that cross communication where they're responding and you can listen to them and be responsive to what they're asking and needing. That is a real skill. So when we see JB Bickerstaff right now, he is growing as a coach and we want to see him continue to grow. But I'll say this, even if he caps out at a certain point, be careful. Be careful that you just don't assume that someone else can come in and do his job. And that's what happens many times in the NBA. They fire the coach quickly. And then the person that comes in after isn't half the coach the guy who they just fired was. It's more important, if you're really shrewd as a front office, what you do is you take that coach and you say, look, I need you to improve here. So I'm going to ask you to find another coach to assist you who has a strength in an area of weakness or area of growth for you so that you can address this need. And that is more so where I would judge a coach. They need to be aware of themselves, to insulate themselves with intelligence, skill, in their coaching staff to be able to make sure that they can meet the needs of the team to continue to be successful and win. But at the end of the day, though, if you get injuries, all bets are off. Don't put that on a coach. If you've been injured, your team's going to suck. To a last few of these comments, Ed Robinson, JB's defensive schemes are elite. His areas of growth are his rotations, yes, and end of game management. Completely. I'll take that version of when I talk about his defensive schemes. I will take the, but I'll say the one critique about the defensive schemes is that he hasn't schemed into it the talent that has on that end of the court. In other words, he needs to have figured, and I've been saying this, how to keep either Ron Holland or Asar Thompson on the court at all times. Their wing defense, their perimeter defense is really how would I put it? It is the catalyst for this team to have an elite defense. Isaiah Stewart is great, but you can't continue to put Isaiah Stewart behind the eight ball when he has to cover for everybody. Ensuring you either have Asar Thompson or Ron Holland on the court gives you somebody at all times who can contain perimeter wings and who has the ability to help out on the boards, out in transition, and maintain pressure on the other team. I've been saying that I think Ron Holland should be playing directly behind Asar Thompson. When Asar comes out, Ron goes in. And if Tobias Harris is out, maybe Ron gets more minutes than Simone Fontecchio. And so when we look at that aspect of it, I say that is an area of growth as well. But you can put it in terms of his rotations. That might be another good way to put it. But hey, y'all, I appreciate y'all. We're coming up on the hour. I'm looking forward to the next game for the Detroit Pistons. I believe they are playing, let me back up real quick. They are going to be playing the Minnesota Timberwolves. I'm going to be honest with y'all. They're going to want to get back. Minnesota's finally healthy, too. They'll have Julius Randle out there, whose home stretch of this season, he's looking to opt out of his deal and get a new deal, which means he's going to be coming for blood, looking to play hard. We've got to run them. We have got to run that team because they are not a team that's built to run, especially in the front court. And that's where we have to take it to that team. Either way, I'm going to get at y'all. I'm going to try to do a pregame. Look, this is Sunday. Ooh, I'm not going to be able to do a pregame tomorrow. Sure, I may not even be able to do a postgame, but I'm going to holler at y'all on Monday. I'm going to try to do a live then on Monday to do a recap of the game. But either way, appreciate all the love and support. Appreciate the people who drop comments. Definitely, if you do a super chat, I'm going to try to include you in some special way as well. Appreciate all the love. Get at y'all next time. It's your man, 100 Grand Ross with The Rock Never Stops. And I'm out. Peace.